Okay, so Benjamin Hoff, the author of the Tao of Pooh, noticed how Winnie the Pooh embodied the spirit of Taoism. He thankfully sat down and penned this little book, which turned out to provide one of the most simple and straightforward explanations of Taoism. On the back of the book he says, "The Tao of Pooh? The Tao of who? The Tao of Pooh?" In which it is revealed that one of the world's great Taoist masters isn't Chinese or a venerable philosopher, but in fact none other than the effortlessly calm, still, reflective bear from A.A. Milne, Winnie the Pooh. And he says, while Eeyore frets, Piglet hesitates, Rabbit calculates, the owl pontificates, but Pooh just is. And that's a clue to the secret wisdom of the Taoists. So where does Taoism come from? Well, it emerged in the 3rd and 4th centuries BCE. And a fellow named Lao Tzu gets credit for putting down in writing some of the lessons that Taoism teaches. It's not for sure that he wrote the book, just like the Bible. We don't know who wrote what, but he gets credit for it. The first versions of Scripture were called the Lao Tzu, later to become the Tao Te Ching. Today we're going to focus on the first word, Tao. It's T-A-O, Tao. Okay, there are many translations of this word. Everything from the way or the path all the way up to God. Okay? Depends on who you talk to is how they explain it. But there is no way for us to begin to comprehend even the concept of what the complete and utter totality of the Tao actually is. You can substitute God from there too. Now, in the Tao Te Ching, this is one translation. I happen to like it. It's a small paperback. Chapter 35, they say, "We look for it, but there is not enough to be seen. We listen for it, but there's not enough to be heard. Yet, when put to use, it is inexhaustible. It is everything and nothing at the same time. That's everything and all the nothing in between the everything. In Taoism, the nothing is considered at least as important as the everything." Copy this one over? Yep. Okay. So from the Tao, chapter 11. 30 spokes converge on a single hub, but it is in the space where there is nothing that the usefulness of the cart lies. Clay is molded to make a pot, but it is in the space where there is nothing that the usefulness of the clay pot lies. You can cut out doors and windows to make a room, but it is in the space where there is nothing that the usefulness of the room lies. Therefore, benefit may be derived from something, but it is in nothing that we find the usefulness. That's straightforward, isn't it? You can think about that forever and try and... Taoist thought is that the Tao's ultimate and eternal harmony is the driving force of all nature. Everything and everyone has a true nature that has a place in the ultimate harmony. We just have to look for it. All things, even opposites, have their own true nature, which, if violated, creates struggle. Trying to control, force, and restrict things violates the natural and eternal harmony of the Tao. which brings complication, struggle, and strife. Or if we go to the Buddhist, it causes, what is it? It causes, everything causes suffering. You're right. So there's along about the same way. Now, a story from the Taoist writer Chang Tzu shows how sometimes you just have to look a little. A merchant said to the master, "I have a large tree which no carpenter can cut into lumber. Its branches and trunk are crooked and tough, covered with bumps and depressions. No builder would turn his head to look at it. Your teachings are the same, useless, without value. Therefore, no one pays attention to them." "As you know," replied the master, "a cat is very skillful at capturing prey. Crouching low, it can leap in any direction, pursuing whatever it is after. But when its attention is focused on such things, it can easily be caught with a net. On the other hand, a huge yak is not easily caught or overcome. It stands like a stone or a cloud in the sky, but of all its strengths, it cannot catch a mouse. You complain that your tree is not valuable as lumber, but you can make use of its shade, of the shade it provides, rest under its sheltering branches, stroll beneath it, admiring its character and appearance. It is useless to you only because you want to make it into something else, and do not use it in its proper way." Now, Winnie the Pooh, true to his nature, simply goes with the flow of the Tao, and everything always works out just right. Now, from this big thing to complete tales and poems of Winnie the Pooh, this dude could write. Okay? It'd take me my whole life to write something on that many pages. Okay. But we have, "Hello, Pooh," said, oh wait, that's the wrong spot. Excuse me. So in they went. The first thing Pooh did was go to the cupboard to see if he had quite a small jar of honey left. And he had, so he took it down. "I'm giving this to Eeyore," he explained, "as a present. What are you going to give?" "Couldn't I give it too?" said Piglet, "from both of us?" "No," said Pooh, "that would not be a good plan." "All right then, I'll give him a balloon. I've got one left from my party. I'll go and get it now, shall I?" "That, Piglet, is a very good idea. It is just what Eeyore wants to cheer him up. Nobody can be uncheered with a balloon." So off Piglet trotted. In the other direction went Pooh with his jar of honey. It was a warm day and he had a long way to go. He hadn't gone more than halfway when a sort of funny feeling began to creep all over him. It began at the tip of his nose and trickled all through him and out the soles of his feet. It was just as if somebody inside him were saying, "Now then, Pooh, time for a little something." "Dear, dear," said Pooh, "I didn't know it was as late as that." So he sat down, took the top off his jar of honey. "Luckily I brought this with me," he thought. "Many a bear going out on a warm day like this would never have thought of bringing a little something with him." And he began to eat. Let me see, he thought, as he took his last lick of the inside of the jar. "Where was I going? Ah, yeah, Eeyore." He got up slowly, and then suddenly he remembered he had eaten Eeyore's birthday present. "Bother," said Pooh. "What shall I do? I must give him something." For a little while he couldn't think of anything. Then he thought, well, it's a very nice pot, even if there's no honey in it. And if I washed it clean, you got somebody to write happy birthday on it, Eeyore can keep things in it, which might be useful. So everything worked out. Even though not precisely as intended, everything always works out. You may not like it, but it's going to work out. Where did I go? This is a good example of Taoism at work, whereby one does not attempt to exert undue control on events as they unfold, but stays centered within one's own true nature, respect that of other creatures, and allows things to work out for themselves. Pooh is the quintessential Taoist model, simple-minded and wise. Pooh, who in his simple way approaches each moment intuitively, without complexity, present to whatever unfolds, in authentic touch with the way things really are. He's not ignorant. He can figure out how to do just about anything. But he is so much involved in each moment, so fully present to the world right before him, that it all seems brand new every day. This is what is called the uncarved block. It's more precisely translated as the unhewn log. Okay. Meeting each moment anew, being spontaneously true to your own nature, accepting of all things, and not trying to control everything. Where's my wife? From the uncarved block, we get the clear mind. That would be opposed to the overstuffed mind. Let's see, that one, let me put that. I believe we're here next. Nope. Yep, okay. Here we go. An empty sort of mind is valuable for finding pearls and tails and other things because it can see what's in front of it. An overstuffed mind is unable to. While the clear mind listens to a bird singing, the stuff full of knowledge and cleverness mind wonders what kind of bird is singing. The more stuffed up it is, the less it can hear through its own ears and see through its own eyes. Knowledge and cleverness tend to concern themselves with the wrong sorts of things. And a mind confused by knowledge, cleverness, and abstract ideas tends to go chasing off after things that don't matter, or that don't even exist, instead of seeing, appreciating, and making use of what is right in front of it. Clear mind. Everything works out. Everything always works out. Okay? Whether it works out well or not depends on your perspective. Now, here's an old story that Van told first, to me anyway, first time I had heard it. But there's a poor Taoist farmer and his teenage son lived together and cherished their one prized possession, a fine horse, which one day escapes and disappears. The neighbor finds out and comes over to sympathize. "What a terrible turn of events," he says. But the farmer simply replies, "How do you know?" A day later, the runaway horse returns on its own, leading a few more wild horses with it back into the corral. Again, a neighbor visits to share the good news. "This is a wonderful windfall." But the farmer again responded, "How do you know?" Sure enough, while riding a new horse, the son is thrown off and breaks his leg. The neighbor hears of this, comes over to help with some of the chores. How sad that your son has to be laid up for many weeks, he said to the farmer, who responds, how do you know? And sure enough, later that week, the Imperial Army marches through, taking all able-bodied young men to fight in a far-off war, perhaps never to return. The neighbor comes over to celebrate that the farmer's son was spared this duty and exclaims, "You are so lucky to be able to keep your son." What do you think the farmer's response? How do you know? And this story has no ending and no conclusion. It just goes on like this every day. I used to tell disc golfers that when I was a teaching program, they'd all get upset when they threw it and it didn't go where they wanted to, ended up in the woods. And my big thing was, it doesn't matter whether you're happy or sad, miserable or glad, the lie remains the same. You still have to play from there. So why be upset about it? If you're upset about it, you can't relax, you can't get a nice smooth stroke, and you're just going to wind up back in the woods. But again, you still have to play from there. You always have to play from where life tells you. Now, from the Tao. Hold fast to the great image, and all under heaven will come. They will come, but not be harmed. Rest in safety and peace. Music and fine food will make the passerby halt. Just safety and peace. If everybody just concerned themselves with themselves and what's in front of them and what happens every minute, then we wouldn't have to worry about fighting anybody because all that's planned. So, with that, I will leave you with our usual: be excellent to each other.